This is a CBS News special report. I'm Charlie Rose with Bianca Golodriga in New York. Minutes ago, President Trump made his first on-camera comments on the New York City terror attack that killed 8 people. We're about to see tape playback of those remarks. Authorities have also released new information on yesterday's rampage in Lower Manhattan.
New York City's fire commissioner says 9 of the 12 people who were hurt are still in the hospital. He says the worst of the injuries range from amputations to other severe trauma. And Mayor Bill de Blasio says there is no sign of any additional threat against New York City. A source tells CBS News the suspect, Saifullah Saipov, talked to police from his hospital bed, where he is being treated for gunshot wounds. The source says that Saipov was very pleased with the outcome of the attack and indicated that he did it for ISIS. Police say he was planning the attack for a number of weeks.
Police also say he drove a rented truck down a bicycle path at a high rate of speed, mowing down people in his way. Saipov reportedly told officers he would have kept going if he had not run into a school bus. Margaret Brennan is at the White House, where we're about to hear what the president said just moments ago. Margaret, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. The president was in a cabinet meeting with his top advisors and really gave what was a much more emotional reaction to this attack in his hometown than his response just a few weeks ago to that mass shooting out in Las Vegas. Today, no calls for unity or restraint. Instead, the president called the attacker an animal, one he said he would consider sending to Guantanamo Bay, and vowed to get rid of a visa program that allowed him to come here from Europe, from the country of Uzbekistan, one that is not on the president's travel ban. Here he is.
The horrifying terrorist attack in New York City, just blocks away from the site of the World Trade Center. A man drove a truck into a pedestrian bike path and murdered 8 people and injured very, very seriously at least 11 more. All of America is praying and grieving for the families who lost their precious loved ones. Horrible act. Our hearts break for them, and we pledge to renew our resolve in their memory. My administration is coordinating closely between federal and local officials to investigate the attack and to further investigate this animal who did the attacking. And updates will be provided as available. I am today starting the process of terminating the diversity lottery program. I'm going to ask Congress to immediately initiate work to get rid of this program. Diversity and diversity lottery. Diversity lottery sounds nice. It's not nice. It's not good. It's not good. It hasn't been good. We've been against it. So we want to immediately work with Congress on the diversity lottery program, on terminating it, getting rid of it. We want a merit-based program where people come into our country based on merit. And we want to get rid of chain migration. This man that came in, or whatever you want to call him, brought in with him other people. And he was the point of contact, the primary point of contact for, and this is preliminarily, 23 people that came in or potentially came in with him. And that's not acceptable. So we want to get rid of chain migration. And we've wanted to do that for a long time. And I've been wanting to do it for a long time. And we'll be asking Congress to start working on it immediately. There are bills already about ending chain migration. And we have a lot of good bills in there. We're being stopped by Democrats because they're obstructionists. And honestly, they don't want to do what's right for our country. We need strength. We need resolve. We have to stop it. So we're going to get rid of this lottery program as soon as possible. He came in through the diversity program, as you know, and we're going to stop that. We're going to, as quickly as possible, get rid of chain migration and go to a merit-based system. Terrorists are constantly seeking to strike our nation, and it will require the unflinching devotion to our law enforcement, homeland security, and intelligence professionals to keep America safe. We will take all necessary steps to protect our people and our communities and to protect our nation as a whole. We have to get much tougher. We have to get much smarter, and we have to get much less politically correct. We're so politically correct that we're afraid to do anything. And that's not only our country, that's other countries too that are having very similar problems. And we have to get tough, we have to get smart, we have to do what's right to protect our citizens. We will never waver in the defense of our beloved country, ever. And we'll never, ever forget the beautiful lives that have been taken from us. That was a horrible event, and we have to stop it, and we have to stop it cold. We also have to come up with punishment that's far quicker and far greater than the punishment these animals are getting right now. They'll go through court for years. At the end, there'll be who knows what happens. We need quick justice, and we need strong justice, much quicker and much stronger than we have right now. Because what we have right now is a joke, and it's a laughing stock. And no wonder so much of this stuff takes place. And I think I can speak for plenty of other countries, too, that are in the same situation.
As the President of the United States there addressing this attack in New York, calling the alleged attacker an animal and pointing right away to a political goal of his, which is to change immigration. While this individual came from a country in Europe known as Uzbekistan, a country not on a travel ban list, the President is calling for more vetting and used it as a chance to push a program he has called merit-based immigration. Also, he goes on to say a number of things, including when asked by our own Major Garrett what the future for this alleged attacker would be, he said he would consider sending him to the detention center in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Now, that is significant because no one has been sent there in years, but also because the alleged attacker in this case is a U.S. resident. He is a U.S. green card holder with the rights that go along with that. So this would be significant. It's unlikely to happen given the current standards in place, but the President there signaling what he says is a position of strength and resolve. He's blaming political correctness for the fact that this attacker lived in the United States and carried out this attack, was ever allowed to enter here, and even suggested in some ways that his family members who came along with him might be a threat or a worry to the U.S., saying he wants to stop chain migration, which is the ability to bring in some of your family members. So a number of topics there, including the President also signaling that tomorrow he's going to make an announcement about who he will put there as the head of the Federal Reserve. Charlie, Bianna?
Well, Margaret, he clearly did not say it would necessarily be Janet Yellen, but might be someone else. And a question from him: how long will it take the President to do away with chain migration?
Well, Charlie, I mean, we've been talking about the inability for Congress to overhaul immigration for years now, and this president hasn't made much progress at all in these 9 months. The things that he has undertaken have been through executive order and action, and then you've seen it stalled in the court systems because of the questions about the targets and the legality of some of the standards there. And that's why I think it's important to point out that the country of origin that this individual came from, Uzbekistan, is not on any version of the travel ban list. It's not on a restricted list. It would not have been affected even if the courts hadn't stopped what the president intended to do there. So it's not clear exactly what he's talking about changing. The diversity visa program, you heard him say that. That's a program that's been in place since the Bush years back in 1990. There have been some attempts to change it, but this is something that was meant to sort of give an easier shot to countries that are underrepresented in U.S. immigration, particularly those from some of these former Soviet states, from European countries, to even it out with the large number of visa applicants from Asia and Hispanic-speaking countries. So that's what he's talking about ending there, a visa program that has actually helped those coming in from Europe.
What was interesting to me is that the President said, in response to a question about the family, whether they represent a threat, he said they could, they certainly could.
Yes, that caught my attention as well, because we didn't hear anything like that from law enforcement in New York, from the press conference that had just concluded there, from the governor of New York, from the New York City mayor, from the police commissioner, who said, that they were trying to signal in many ways this was a situation under control and not part of a broader plot. The president suggesting that there was reason to be concerned here. And I've got to be honest with you, Charlie, when we've asked for further information and detail as to what the president is using to inform some of the public statements he's made today, particularly those tweets, the White House has not been forthcoming. They haven't explained whether that is based on news, open source information that the president perhaps heard, or whether that's based on actual U.S. intelligence. So I urge that caution there, because we don't know exactly who he's referring to when he says those 23 people, and referencing even his own family members here in the United States.
And Margaret, when we heard from authorities in New York at their press conference, specifically the governor and the mayor, they said that they had not heard from the president directly, but they had heard from his administration. Quick question to you. What is the temperature, do you think, gauging whether Republicans or Democrats would be open to changing the visa rules that the president was talking about, specifically that lottery system?
Well, I have to say that the decision to move so quickly to politics is one that put a bad taste in many mouths here in Washington and in New York, as you heard at that press conference. So far, even a fellow Republican, Jeff Flake, who has been a critic of the president, has said, look, we tried to change some of these programs before and it stalled, and this is really politicizing an issue at a time you should be calling for unity, and that's not the point. So far, we aren't seeing much of a shoulder. Lindsey Graham, however, the president's supporter, has said, called for stricter things like this idea of classifying the attacker as an enemy combatant, something that would be very complicated considering that he's a U.S. resident.
And while both sides are stressing that this not turn into a political argument, we are hearing now both from the president and Senator Chuck Schumer via Twitter. So this will definitely be continued and will be followed. Margaret, we appreciate you for joining us and for reporting. Thank you. And coverage will continue throughout the day on your local news and on this CBS station and on our 24-hour streaming network, CBSN. And we'll have a full wrap-up tonight on CBS Evening News.
This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Charlie Rose with Bianca Golodriga, CBS News, New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.